So you want all of my secrets to a flawless porcelain base that lasts all day through sweat, rain, or being in air conditioning for 12 hours, which is so horribly drying on the skin. I can help with that. I must first preface this base routine video with the fact that I have naturally dry and dehydrated skin. All of my tips and tricks are tailored to my skin type. I do think that they are useful for multiple skin types, but my base routine from start to end isn't going to work for someone with an incredibly oily skin type. I just think we have to be realistic about that. That being said, let's get into this base. Pardon the fan going on in the background. It's currently 30 degrees Celsius and I need it. First things first, let's talk about skin prep, because you can't talk about a base routine without talking about your skincare. So my formula for my morning skincare is toner, serum, eye cream, moisturizer. Those are my 4 key products that go on my skin almost every single day. Almost everyone I know has dehydrated skin. That's a lack of water. Nobody drinks enough water. But I also have dry skin naturally. So I have to look a little bit like I'm covered in a fine layer of Vaseline to help me through to the end of the day when it comes to my base looking beautiful and not like the Sahara Desert. The other thing I wear every single day is SPF. I like the beauty of Joseon SPFs. I've worked with them a couple of times. They've sent me these, but you can see that this is squeezed out. This is the Aqua Fresh Relief Sun. This is their more matte finish, which I've really been enjoying because I have enough glow already going on in my skin prep. I don't need another step. Bronte, I hear you say, you're already doing too much. That's too much on the skin. Well, if it's too much on your skin, that's for you. But it actually does take quite a bit to get a flawless looking base that sits all day, and it's in the art of knowing how to layer and knowing that no makeup is actually better than rushed makeup. If you have no time for skin prep, I don't think you have time for makeup. I think you have time to put a beautiful glowy SPF on and leave the house, and overall your base will look better throughout the day because you're not wearing anything on your skin. I take my time. So largely don't believe in primers. 3/4 of the year, I don't wear a primer. I do all of my skin prep with the SPF. I let that settle for about 5-10 minutes, and then I go straight on with my foundation over the top. The only time of the year this changes is in Australian summer. It is so warm and so humid that my makeup just wants to leave my face. So we need a little bit more help. And I use one thing for that. This is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. This is the Grip and Glow. I also have the plain grip somewhere. I use a couple of pumps of this just through this area of the face that's most prone to breaking down when I start to sweat and when I start to get warm, because at 30 degrees a day, I do overheat, and I let that settle in, and that's the only type of primer I wear throughout the year, and that's the only placement I wear the primer in. Most of the time, you don't need it. True to this being the gold one though, it does look a little bit funny if I don't spread it out a bit. So I've used 3 pumps, and I'm just going to distribute that on the like 4/4 of my face. If you're into the 2008 Victoria's Secret shows, the classic Victoria's Secret makeup, using something like this under your makeup will give that kind of overall glow to the look. It's almost like a golden glow, I mean, obviously. But being so fair, I can't wear all of the bronzer that they wear in those old shows. I can, however, wear this beneath my makeup, and it does the trick. Let's just test that that primer is ready to go. How do you pick your foundation, I hear you say? Well, my foundation picking mantra has always been that I pick my foundation for my skin type, and then I use my base products to sort out the finish. So this is the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I have gone through maybe 6 bottles of this. I go through it like water, unfortunately, but it is absolutely beautiful. I've never found anything that looks this good on dry, dehydrated skin. This is my all-purpose foundation. It doesn't matter that it's a satin finish. It really needs to sit beautifully on the skin. Everything else afterwards can help tone adjust to what I'm trying to achieve for the day. Now, if my plan is for a more flawless finish, I like to start by massaging this into the skin with my hands. I know this is going to be like a sensorial nightmare for some of you, but I think this helps create the most beautiful, even first layer of coverage. Take the foundation hand. I use my sponge to get off any excess because we shouldn't waste our foundation. And then I press it into the skin. And do you see what I mean about how even that first layer of coverage is? How beautifully that's sitting. Depending on the day, I will sometimes go in with what I call a half layer. So we're not doing another full layer of coverage. I'm just going in through the center of the face to bump up the foundation. Today I don't feel like I need it. Today my skin feels very happy. I did a mask last night. I think we can go straight to corrector and concealer. This is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Cherry Blossom Corrector. It is actually not my perfect shade. I need something a little bit fairer. It's a bit too pigmented on my skin tone. However, I resolved myself to go through this before I buy another one. It is what it is. Don't overdo it with the corrector. I literally just go. So if you have your perfect corrector color, you shouldn't actually see the peachiness of the corrector once you're done blending it out. Today, this is playing quite well, but up here you can still see kind of a wash of that pinky color. A perfect corrector will actually just neutralize the discoloration back to normal, which means it'll blend right into your skin. I know this because I've had correctors that are the perfect color for me and do just make this disappear. Huda Beauty doesn't quite do it. It's nothing wrong with the formula, it's just the color. So I'm currently using the Hourglass Vanish Concealer. I do enjoy this, I can't tell you why. It's a solid medium coverage with a slightly matte finish. I have also used many tubes of the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Corrector, specifically under my eyes. Because I have these genetic tear trails, I like something a little bit fuller right in here to ease the transition. And this has quite a matte finish and it's incredibly full coverage, so concentrating a little bit more coverage under the eyes right there really allows it to look as flawless as possible. Show you, I'm going to start by placing down the Hourglass. And press that all in with the magic sponge. I truly am a sponge girly. I think if I was more worried about precision and technique, I would be a brushes girly, but this is just for my face. I've done a first overall layer of concealer. Now I'm going to go back in with the faux filter and I'm just going to focus it right in here where those little tear trails are. I'm gonna let it set for like 10 seconds before I blend it. This is just going to ensure that our under eye looks as flawless as possible. Maybe that doesn't change a thing for you all, but it changes for me. I feel like that makes a difference. My contour product never changes. I've been using this for maybe 2 years now. Don't quote me on that. I could be exaggerating. This is the Westman Atelier Face Trace Contour Stick in Biscuit. This is a perfect neutral contour. Now this isn't super gray. It's not super cool toned. It's not going to pull incredibly ashy, but it is just cool enough that it allows you to give definition to the face without occasionally pulling Casper the Friendly Ghost, because I have contours that can pull Casper. So I can use this as definition, and then if I want a little bit of a more bronzed moment, something that's going to give the vibe of a more bronzed moment on my fair skin, I can also put it on the high points and it does what it needs to without turning me orange. For my cheekbones, I tend to look at myself from the side and then go into the natural shadow. For my jaw, I mean, I quite obviously have a soft jawline. I do a little bit there and a little bit where the shadow is deepest. I'm not super concerned with snatching. I'm not super concerned with looking really sharp. What this largely serves the purpose of is putting dimension back into a face that I've taken all my dimension out. I put on 3 layers of coverage, I don't have any of those natural shadows left in my face in the pigmentation, so this allows me to look 3D again. Cream blush. I don't think I've ever made a cream blush I didn't like. This is the Pat McGrath Color Balms, I think they're called. This is Divine Rose Glow. This is too much to go directly on the face. If I go directly on the face with this stick formula, it's just going to move stuff around that I don't want moved. So I take a brush, I run it around, get it evenly distributed, and then I tap it in my little Renaissance placement. I go down and out, and I just think this works so much better for my face shape. I take it, I place the bulk of the pigment, and then I go back to the magic sponge. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap it around the edges of that blush placement to make sure that the blend is seamless, but I'm not gonna tap it all over the bulk of the color. We place that bulk, we know we want that bulk there. We just need the edges to feather off into nothing. Now we have to talk about setting spray. So, to understand my setting spray philosophy, you have to understand how I use powder. Powder is the longevity of a base. If you leave all the creams like this unset, inevitably you're going to touch your face or you're going to sweat and it's just going to melt away. You get all of your longevity, really, functionally, from that powder, from setting your face appropriately. So why, in all of God's green earth, would you reactivate that powder? Because you want to melt it down? You're compromising the longevity, which is the purpose of the product. And that's always what I saw people refer to setting spray as. I'm just gonna melt everything together. I'm just gonna make sure it doesn't look like it's sitting on the skin. Well, everything before powder should ensure that the base doesn't look like it's sitting on the skin. Your powder application should ensure that it doesn't look like it's sitting on the skin. Setting spray should not be doing that, because you're compromising the overall longevity of your base by using it after powder. Controversially, this is the Tier Mask Fit Makeup Fixer. I think this is fantastic for sweaty, humid, horrendous days. I'm going to spray this now while my face is still completely unset to infuse all of those cream products with all the long wear properties they claim are in here. And then I'm going to go over with powder. We're up in the era of beauty gurus, so I am unshy about setting spray. God help me, you don't go over this while it's wet. Let it dry before you touch your face. Dry over wet, nightmare. Let it settle. You will feel when it stops setting into the skin. I usually have a fan, but it's living in my purse because it's so warm at the moment. And I sit here and I fan myself until we're good to go. I have perfected this base. I told you that, but I told you it did take work. So hopefully you're still with me. Huda Beauty Loose Setting Powder and a powder puff. I press it into the puff and then I work it into the back of my hand to make sure that it's really set in there, that we don't have chunks of powder waiting on the puff. I go in, I press that underneath the eyes. I go in, I get my smile lines, I get anywhere that I would rather flatten the appearance of, because powder is inherently going to make the area look flatter and smoother, because that's what a matte finish does. And I am left with this. I think the before and after kind of speaks for itself. I went a little bit hard on the powder. I don't usually go that hard. I just overestimated, you know, it's a thing. But from here on out, everything's much more formulaic. I take a light dusting of my powder products. I use that to set. A little bit of powder contour. I don't take a ton on the face, but I do soften out the jaw slightly. I don't think the face really needs more help. I think it's done enough. And this is the finished look. This is how my base will look all day. I'll get a tiny, tiny, tiny weeny bit of creasing in my smile lines and right up in my forehead, but everywhere else will last flawlessly. The benefits of having drier skin rather than an oilier skin type. I'm aware that longevity is just a whole different beast when you have natural oils trying to break down your base at any given moment. However, I do hope if you try some of my tips and tricks that they help you immensely. I know they've helped other people in my comment section. I hope you feel beautiful. I love you all so much, and I'll see you another time. Bye.